Hey everybody, Brian over at Strong Tower again, and bringing you your next movement video. So excited to get moving with you. What you'll need today, you'll need a pen, you'll need a journal. So this is my handy workout journal. I write my high payoff drills, the ones that work really well for me in there. So just movements, drills, exercises, those are synonymous to me, that I know are really good as far as they give me a performance benefit, they make me move better, feel better. So just jot them down when I find them. So encourage you to do the same. You need a pen, and then you need a wall. So a stable wall, it's not going anywhere. So starting out, again, just word of encouragement. Wanted you to just remember to listen to your body today. So as you go through these sessions, some of you may find that these are shorter and you want to do them twice a day. So if you're more advanced and you want to get a little more movement in, that's fantastic. If it's too long actually starting out or too intense, take them in bite-sized chunks. So go ahead, if it's a 20-minute video, do 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes later on around midday or later in the day. It's important right now to do moderate exercise. So to help boost your immune system, we don't want to overtrain, we don't want to undertrain, we want to do a moderate, reasonable amount of exercise, keep your body moving, keep your brain healthy that way as well. Another concept I wanted to talk to you quick about is fuel and activation. So the brain needs fuel and it needs activation to survive and thrive. Fuel comes from glucose and oxygen. So it can be good to grab a high fiber piece of fruit, maybe with a little bit of almond butter or peanut butter, before these sessions, so that you're going into it with your brain fueled up and ready to go. If you got your pen and you got your journal, you got a spot close to a wall, we'll start out today with our assessment. So we're going to assess with balance today, and what I want you to do is, if you can do feet together and that's challenging for you, there's a little sway, start with that. If that's not challenging, go to one foot in front of the other, or a tandem stance. Notice I'm trying to line my feet straight up so I don't have my back foot swiveled out. It's very linear. If you can do that, both sides, and it's too easy, we'll go to that next level of progression. So moving into more of a single leg balance. Leg can be up, leg can be down. We just want that foot off the floor if this is the right version for you. Same thing on the other side. So two things, you want to get the right progression for you that's going to work, and then you also want to start to challenge yourself a little bit and also compare side to side. So if that's not challenging, again, we're going to go one more progression. So single leg, eyes closed. And you can see there's a difference there for me. So the ankle's wiggling, upper body, shoulders are swaying a little bit more. And right side's pretty good though. Left side, again, a little ankle movement, little shoulder sway, and I'm getting a feel for how challenging that is right to left. And okay, stepped out of it before 10 seconds. So my left side maybe want to come back to as my reassess side to try to really improve and work on. Again, you pick that level of challenge that was right for you. Here, here, single leg, or single leg, eyes closed. And you'll come back when we reassess. If it got better, we'll know what we did just prior to that was probably a really good input. If it got worse, we'll know maybe that's not the best one to practice before you have to perform or do something that you want to do really well. You go sprint, pick up a heavy kettlebell, do a heavy resistance band lift, heavy barbell lift. Those are all things we want to have just those notes taken on what were my really good high payoff drills, so that I can perform better, whether it's strength, even if it's work performance. If you're doing your own videos at home and you want to do your high payoff drills right before you go online, or you're doing a Zoom call where you have to perform well, great time to do those as well. So we have our assessment done. Now we're going to go into a side opener. So we're going to go ahead and cross the back leg, or the outside leg, away from the wall, back and across, and the inside leg is forward. So outside leg away from the wall comes back and across the other foot, and then I'm holding on to the wall for balance. I have the toes flipped under, so if that's comfortable for you, excellent. It's going to lengthen out kind of this side fascial line, the lateral chain. If that doesn't feel great on your foot, that's fine. Still cross the leg back and over behind the other foot if you can, but just set the foot in a more neutral position. So I'm going to stick with toes curled under. I'm going to take a deep breath up, starting from the bottom, my belly, up to my middle rib cage, and then up into the top of the rib cage. So as I breathe in, I'm going to reach up and to the side. I want to think about lengthening, filling up that entire lateral chain as a ladder from the bottom to the top. We exhale all the way out, breathe in again, and then exhale. Same thing on the other side, so we're going to turn, hold on to the wall, inside leg is forward, outside leg away from the wall comes back, and across. We're lengthening towards the ceiling as we reach up towards the wall with the outside hand, breathing in, and exhaling. Nice, full, complete exhale. Get all the air out. Then repeat, come up. Fill those lung fields. And back out. Really good. We're going to come back and reassess. We've done some range of motion assessments in the past. You could pick one of those today, or if you want to stick with the balance, I'm going to do that. So I'm coming back to my left leg. The one I wanted to work on that seemed a little bit more challenged today, less awesome than the right, and then I'm going to eyes closed. And it's decent. I wouldn't call that like the most amazing result that I've ever seen, but pretty decent. From there, we're going to go into index, lead, figure eights. So with the hands, we're going to wiggle your pointer finger, get that pointer finger moving, index finger. We're going to think about that being the leader as we come up and in with it. Press it back out to the outside, around towards the shoulder, and then scoop it back down towards your toes. Bring it up and in, around the outside, and then start to speed that up a little bit. If these are challenging to you, that's a good thing. If they're new, that's a good thing. Novel movement is one of the best things that you can do for brain stimulation. And these complex non-linear patterns are fantastic for a brain area called the cerebellum, which is closely linked to balance. So that's why we used a balance assessment, one reason today. I want you to do the same thing in a lunge. So we're going to go to a side lunge. Again, pointer fingers wiggle, and then come through those hand figure eights. Then going to shift over to the other side lunge. Keep the hand figure eights going. You might notice a little tension building up in the wrists, in the forearms. Again, that's a good thing. I'm going to challenge you a little bit, even though it seems funny to work your fingers, work your forearms as part of that challenge. But hey, it's an important body area, body part. So we want to work it. We're going to shake it out. Hand figure eight's really good again for the cerebellum. They're really good as well if you've been doing a lot of writing, typing, or you've been on your device working your thumbs too much. Get the rest of those fingers some happy, healthy movement stimulus. And then we're going to go into your cervical spine, so head and neck. We're going to start with an anterior posterior glide. So call this the chicken exercise. So long, tall spine. Trying to isolate that movement in head and neck. And quick reminder to stay in that pain-free range of motion. So do what's comfortable for you. We're then going to go into a nose figure eight. So if you're going to wash your hands afterwards, I want you to touch your nose. Got your nose. Hopefully you know where it is without touching it, but just wanted that sensory input. And then we're going to take your nose and create a figure eight in space. So think about a horizontal, kind of an infinity sign figure eight. And then switch and go the other direction. So the middle of that 8 should be right through your midline, and then you're making a circle to the right and a circle to the left. And again, that should be a gentle stimulus for head and neck, pain-free range. We're going into some hip internal rotation. Hold a wall here, so if you need to for balance, hang on. we're going to internally rotate, meaning the kneecap. We're going to imagine that smiley face on the kneecaps pointing in towards the other foot. And this is a front circle today, so we're just going to circle out in front of the body. If the hip rotates in, the knee should turn in, that foot should turn in as well. Shake it out. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. So internal hip rotation. And if you want to feel that area, add some sensory to it, you can. Just holding that hip, doing a little bit of skin stimulation to it if you'd like. Hold the wall if you need to. That's the front circle. Now we're going to move to a back circle. So we're going to drive the leg into internal rotation but send it back behind you. The challenge on this one is not getting into this big RDL or hip hinge position. We want to stay vertical with your spine and then reach that leg back. The other thing you see a lot of times is the knee will start to do this. So reach back with the hip itself with a straight leg there. Both directions on the circles, great job, doing awesome. Woo! Starting to warm up a little bit. So kneecap turned in, straight leg, locking that knee makes it more interesting, and the glute hamstring sometimes. Whew, feeling those a little bit. Okay, so shake it out. Should be feeling your heart rate come up a little bit here too, which is part of the purpose of these joint movements. Also great for your brain-body maps, so we want to work on those. We're going to do a finger opening sequence next. So I want you to make a loose fist, both hands. Let's get into a forward lunge, so keep the legs working. A little bit of a posterior pelvic tilt. The opening sequence is one finger at a time, opening up. You can see those last two. My brain maps wanted to kind of blend together over the years, and I'm working on it, but those last two fingers really want to move together. So we're opening the fingers one at a time, making a loose fist to start. Open 1, 2, 3, 4, that's a stretch, and 5. Good, shake it out. And then from there we're going to go into inside, outside ankle tilts, but in lunge positions today, so I'm going to create a little bit of novelty with these ankle tilts. We're going to go forward 45-degree lunge. So in the forward 45, I'm going to start with my front foot, keep the knee fairly stable, and gently tip onto the outside edge of the foot. So what you should feel is right on the outside of the ankle here, you should feel a little bit of a stretch. We're opening up space in between two bones there where a nerve passes through, and taking some pressure off of that joint, really important because it then takes pressure off the nerve, makes your muscles fire better, keeps those nerves healthy. On the back foot now we're going to go into an inside tilt. So I'm going to swivel that foot out 45 degrees. I'm going to weight shift forward, so I'm coming towards the camera with my hips, but I'm again keeping the knee fairly stable and tipping now to the inside, opposite, inside of the ankle. And again, gentle stretch there on the inside of the ankle. You may have guessed it, there's another nerve that runs right through two bones at the joint at the base of the inside of the ankle as well. So then we're going to lunge forward for 45 degrees or so again. Knee stays stable. Let's go to that front foot and outside ankle tilt. You're doing awesome. Stay long and tall. And we're almost through the warm-up. You got this. So back ankle, weight shift forward, hips come forward. Tip gently to the inside of that back ankle. Again, thinking stable knee position, stable hip position. Good. So we did finger openers. We did the ankle. We're going to go into a little vision work. So the next one is a vision H. And we're going to bring both hands out in front. And imagine that you're drawing an H in space in front of you. We're not going to do both hands at the same time because unless you're super amazing at monocular eye control, it's going to be tough to track both hands at the same time with your eyes. So this is an eye tracking drill. We're watching one thumb move through the first half of that H, connecting it in the middle, staying long and breathing, and then finishing the second half of that H. So we're going over again. Right side, if you'll notice, hopefully I'm keeping my head stable. We want the eyes to be able to move independently of head and neck. If those neck and eye muscles are blended together, it's not a great thing actually. Neurologically, it's one of the first priorities in concussion or TBI rehab as they want to train the eyes again to move without the neck or head moving. So really important. From there, we're going to go into an A march on the wall. So let's reassess your balance quick. Let's just see where we're at. That was the warm-up. I'm going to get back on again. The side that was more challenging for me was left today. Eyes closed. Reminder to breathe. Nice deep breath. And that actually felt pretty decent. Started out really good and then started to get a little wiggly there towards the end. When we take away the visual input, that's a big deal. Your visual system's so dominant in movement that balancing becomes way more challenging when we go to an eyes closed version of that. So from there, I'm going to quick start a second video here and get an Instagram post up as well. So what we're moving into in the next segment is midline activation. So we want a strong, stable midline of the body. That's super important. The first drill that we're going to work on is an A march position. So A march is our opposite leg, knee up, toe up. We can do that on a hop. And this is kind of standard A march. It's used a lot in track, used a lot in sports and athletics. We're going to get into that same position but make it static today, so a little bit easier. This is where you need your wall. We're going to lean into the wall, so I'm starting a few feet, probably 4 feet away from the wall, leaning, dropping my inside hand into the wall, nice and strong and stable in the shoulders and the hips first, little bracing in the tummy as well. So from there, I'm going to drive a knee up and across towards the wall, and then squeeze the glute on the base leg. So my stance leg, I want a nice tight gluteal contraction, and then from there, we're going to progress it a little bit. So knee comes up, toes come up, and then we're going to go up on ball of foot if you're able to. If not, stay with the heels down. 5-second hold, squeezing the glute, and then coming back down. Same thing on the other side. So start away from the wall, lean in, knee up, toe up, leg comes across. So first version, squeezing the buttocks muscle there, staying tall, bracing the midline, and coming back down. Now we're going to go ahead and progress it again, knee up, toe up on ball of foot. Got a nice calf contraction here, squeezing that glute. You can tell I'm working a lot harder. 5-second hold, and we're back down. And we're going to go into hip bridge with a near far exercise. So we're getting the visual system and the midline of the body incorporated together. There's a close linker relationship there. So we're going to drive heels into the floor, hips up into the air. I have my pen. Hopefully you grabbed yours or it's handy, so I'll give you a second. Grab that pen. Then we're going to drive hips up, squeezing the glutes again. A little bit of ab engagement. And I'm looking from near to far. So I'm going to look at a spot on the ceiling, and then I'm going to look at the letter on my pen, and I'm jumping my eyes back and forth. I'm going to do about 10 repetitions, switching the eyes from near to far, and then come back down and out of that position. If you needed to, it's tough to get on the floor for you, you could do the hip bridge with the near far drill on a bed. Then we're going to reassess. So I want to always check, what did that stimulus do for my body? So I'm going to brain and body really. I'm going to a single leg balance and then eyes closed. This is just what I was assessing before. You could have eyes open or you could have both feet together on the floor. For me, that's actually a little better. So hip bridge with near far is a great drill. And then we're also going to move into plank and then reassess one more time. So we got hands on the floor, head is neutral, a little bit of posterior tilt in the pelvis, feet and hands about shoulder width, and I'm lengthening through the crown of my head. You could do progressions here like shoulder taps, stable through the midline, but bringing one hand up towards the opposite shoulder. You could do, again, posterior tilt in the pelvis, maintaining that hold in the pelvis, and a little bit of a leg lift. Or you could just hold the plank, do what works well for you. And then we're going to come back up one more time, reassess. So single leg, going with the leg that was a little more challenging today, and then eyes closed. Whew. and I'm out of it right away. So my brain likes the input of hip bridge near far a lot more than it did the plank. And that's just good to know, because I probably want to practice more hip bridge near far before I need to perform well in something. I'm going to shut this one off quick, and then we're going to keep moving. So we're getting into isometrics again today. We did isometrics, Dave and I, last week on the upper body. Today's focused on the lower body. So these are going to be fantastic. We're going to first get into a lunge position. I'm going to get the clock running, so we're doing 20-second holds with a 10-second rest in between again today. We're in a lunge position. First thing we're going to do here is work on the calf. So muscles here on the back of the leg, the lower leg, the gastroc, the soleus. We're just going to squeeze them as hard as you can for 20 seconds. We're going to use the lead leg, or the foot that's forward. We'll start 20 seconds on. I'm up on ball of foot. From there, if you want to, you feel stable, good, you can skin stim it, so you can come in and actually feel that calf. Again, contractile mapping, really good for brain and body, really good for building strength with just your own body weight. But I want to squeeze, that's 20 seconds already, as hard as I can, and sometimes sensory helps to increase that contraction. You could be by a wall, get up on ball of foot, and again, do a little bit of sensory. It could be tapping, light touching, could be a little bit of rubbing in that muscle group, so the lower leg, back of the leg there is where you're shooting for. And if there's any spongy areas, really try to get those dialed in with a stronger contraction. Feeling that. All right, so we got 10 seconds rest. Next we're gonna get into that opposite lunge position again, so switch legs. This time I'm gonna pull the toes up like I'm trying to pull the toes into my kneecap. So imagine there's a string, almost drawing that up. All 5 toes coming up towards the kneecap. You should feel tension here on the front of the shin. Really important muscles for ankle stability. And then relax. So 10 seconds total relaxation. Try to let tension out of that lower leg. Other lunge position. You got this. We're going to keep the heel down, pull the toes up as hard as you can again. And right through here, the anterior tib, the peroneals, that's where you should feel this contraction. Way to squeeze, get after it. Toes up, you got this. 5 seconds. Good. 2, 1, and relax, good. Let that tension go. Next, we're gonna move into hip flexor and glute. So we'll start with the glute. I want you in a lunge position. On the back leg now, think about your buttocks muscle. And if you want to, again, tap, poke, skin stim, and we're just squeezing that glute as hard as you can. 20 seconds. Reminder from the other day when you did upper body, if these cramp, stop when it cramps, and over time you'll be able to accumulate more time under tension with a nice strong contraction each time in those different muscle groups. So endurance and building endurance is part of this too. We're doing 20 seconds today. You could start with 10 seconds, work your way up to 20, eventually work your way up to 30, maybe even a minute, kind of gold standard. If you can hold a max contraction for a minute in a muscle group, give you props without cramping. Good job, good job. Squeezing that glute, good. 1 second, all right, cheated for a second. We're gonna go against the wall next, and I want you to have maybe a mat or a pad to drive your knee into, or we can just drive right into the wall itself. So I'm stabilizing with my hands, but my focus is on trying to push this knee up and into that wall. Feeling those hip flexors work. Go, 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 5 seconds. And relax. That one's tough. That was tougher than the glute for me. I don't know about you. Then we're gonna switch legs, drive into the wall again. So we got that knee drive coming up and in. Again, you could have a pillow here if you wanna cushion that a little bit. Way to push, way to drive, you got this. These hip flexors are really good for midline stability again. So we're also, side benefit, working the abs, working the lower abs a little bit. The hip flexors work really well in conjunction with the lower abs. From there, we're going to reset, I think, and we got a couple more muscle groups. So we're going to do inner outer thigh, and then we're also going to do the quads and the hamstrings to round out the lower body. So we're going to get into a lunge position again. For the quads, I want you up on ball of foot. So we're going to load the quad muscles here on the top of the leg, above the knee, from knee to hip. If you're set, we're going to go 20 seconds on. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Again, a little tapping, a little skin stim. Sensory input can be good. Increase the quality of that contraction. Look for any soft or loose spots. And if you're finding any, focus in there. And really try to increase strength of contraction. Great job. Whew. Switch your lunge. Here we go. We're going up ball of foot. You got this. Loading. Again, knee to hip, front of the leg as the focus here. Get that quad active, active, active. Good squeeze. These are important muscles for knee stability, hip stability. Getting upstairs, climbing mountains. 3, 2, 1, way to go. Whew. So that was the front of the leg. Now we're going to go knee to hip, back of the leg or hamstring. Once you're in a lunge position here, we're actually going to heel drive now instead of being on ball of foot. I want to actively pull that heel back towards the wall or back towards my other foot. So I'm trying to drive this way, this way, this way through the front heel. That's going to activate those hamstrings on the back of the leg. Again, feel free to do a little sensory, a little tapping. You got this. Ooh, good hamstring contraction. So deep breath, total relaxation. We're going to come back to the other side, pull that heel down and back, driving the heel back towards the other foot. Skin stim through the hamstring. Get a good solid contraction all the way through. Really important muscles for walking, running, jumping. And 3, 2, 1, way to finish. Whew. We're getting through this. So next one, again, if you want to be on a bed, that works great. If you can get to the floor, excellent. We're going to be in kind of this butterfly position, and I'm going to push down with my elbows, but push up with my knees. So my arms are actively driving, driving, driving. Those knees down towards the floor. And I'm driving up, 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 up with the knees. Whew. It's intense. All right, and then we're gonna switch it. So now I'm gonna hold up with my hands, try to push my knees to the ceiling, but with my lower body, actively drive those knees down towards the floor. Actually, haven't done these in a long time. Get something I need to incorporate more often. These are good. Actually working upper and lower body here. So 3, 2, 1, way to finish. Excellent work. I'm gonna reset the clock because that's one time through, one round. And if you wanted to go through those isometrics again, you got the calf, you got glute, hip flexor, you have quad, hamstring, and then you have the butterfly position, inner and outer thigh. So if that was like, those just sort of warming me up, and you want to go through a second round, go for it. We're going to finish there today though. Great job. Way to work. All right, so to finish, we're going to work through reassess, just see where we are from a balance standpoint. So once you're on a single leg, again, you pick the leg, or if you're here, or in your tandem stance, you do what you did before as the challenging version. And then eyes closed. Eyes open if that's what you're working on though, please. And if you're doing eyes closed, just a side note, safety first. So that's better for me, but safety first. So have the area around you clear, be next to a wall or a stable object, especially if that's brand new to you. Then diaphragm stretch. So as a bonus for you, I want to challenge you to do the diaphragm stretch 3 more times today. So we're just in a time where respiratory health, immune health is really important. And so the diaphragm stretch can be a great way to help keep your respiratory system healthy, keep it lengthened with full capability. So I'm gonna lay on my back, knees bent. Could be on a bed again if you'd like. I'm gonna make sure my pelvis is in that posterior tilt. Reach my hands up to the ceiling, take a deep breath in, trying to fill up my tummy, then all the way up. So use the whole thoracic chamber. Deep inhale and then exhale as you reach overhead. It's great to have pillows overhead if your shoulder range of motion doesn't allow you to get super far into flexion. So you could relax your arms down onto, imagine there's pillows under my arms, and that's your range of motion. That's excellent. So again, really full exhale, really focused on the posterior tilt in the pelvis. So hold that pelvic position, deep breath in. Fill up the lungs, exhale. You need to keep going on the exhale even when you think you got all the air out. Blow a little more out. Whew. And right there at the end, when you've done that complete full exhale is where you're going to actually get the most benefit from that diaphragm stretch. What that does is almost creates a reflexive inhale where you're drawing air back in almost out of necessity. So great work today, and we'll have more movement videos coming this week. We're doing at least one a day, so keep moving. You're doing great.